You keep telling yourself, later, when I'm ready, when I feel peace, when life settles down. But do you realize that later is a thief? Yes, a thief of destinies, a killer of movements, a silent assassin of miracles. And behind this later often stands a false peace, a counterfeit calm that doesn't come from me, but from fear dressed in spiritual language. Child, delaying your obedience is not harmless. It has spiritual consequences. You think you're just waiting, but heaven sees a war. Because every time you say not yet to me, you say yes to the patterns I came to break. Your maybe later becomes a legal agreement in the spirit realm, a delay clause that grants permission to darkness to keep circling your bloodline. Let that sink in. The moment you postpone your calling, you prolong the curse. This isn't punishment, this is law. In my divine order, when something is not occupied with truth, it is occupied by default, with fear, with lies, with stagnation. And what you do not confront, your children will have to. That is why I told you to rise now. Because some assignments are not just for you, they are for the freedom of those connected to your voice. When you delay, they remain bound. This is not just about your healing. It's about the healing of your line. In psychology, we call this intergenerational transmission of trauma. When unresolved pain, silence, or survival patterns are passed down through behavior, epigenetics, and emotional atmosphere. Science confirms what I've said for millennia. The sins of the fathers are visited upon the children. But grace interrupts the pattern. When one person says yes, fully, completely, radically, it rewrites the script. It closes portals of pain and opens portals of promise. Do you understand the weight of what I'm saying? This moment is not small. This decision is not minor. You are standing at the threshold of two timelines, the continuation of generational cycles or the creation of generational freedom. And you cannot stand there forever. Jung spoke of the individuation process, the sacred journey of becoming your true self, breaking away from collective identity and the inherited expectations of others. This is not an easy path. It is the path of the hero, the mystic, the prophet. And it always begins with a rupture, a moment when the old life no longer fits and the new one has not yet fully arrived. That's where you are now. You are standing in the space between prophecy and fulfillment, between identity and embodiment, between Egypt and the promised land. And the only bridge between these two worlds is obedience. Not the kind of obedience rooted in guilt or striving, but the kind rooted in faith, in trust, in surrender to something greater than you. Faith is not passive waiting, it is active partnership. Waiting on me does not mean sitting still. It means listening, aligning, preparing, and stepping when I say step, even when it doesn't make sense. Especially then. Think of Abraham. I said, go to a land I will show you. Not, go to this address. Not, here's the map. Just go. Think of Peter. He didn't walk on calm seas. He walked on chaos, on waves, on the impossible. He stepped out not because the water was ready, but because the word was spoken. And I've spoken over you repeatedly, through dreams, through prophets, through restlessness, through open doors, through closed ones, through whispers, and sometimes even through pain. My voice has not been absent, it's been inconvenient, because what I'm calling you to doesn't fit into your 5-year plan. It doesn't come with certainty, it comes with me. And that's the whole point. The world trains you to chase clarity, but I train you to chase me. The curse says, know everything first. The calling says, trust the one who knows everything. And let me show you this in science again. In neuroscience, the default mode network of your brain activates during periods of introspection, memory, and imagination. But when you step into novelty, risk, and unknowns, a shift happens. The brain rewires to create new patterns. Neuroplasticity is activated by movement, meaning transformation never happens in analysis. It happens in motion. So when I say move, I'm not just being mysterious. I'm aligning your biology with your destiny. Your obedience is not just spiritual, it is physiological. It rewires trauma, it changes your chemistry, it heals your line. Every step of faith is a reset in the system. Every yes breaks old neurological ruts and builds a new trail in the wilderness of your soul. This is why the curse fights your movement so fiercely. Because every time you move in obedience, you shorten the reign of fear. You disrupt the loop. You break a timeline. You end a prophecy not spoken by me. And here's what you must know. Your delayed obedience doesn't just affect you, it alters the futures of those assigned to your voice. There are people, maybe thousands, whose healing is waiting on your courage. There are stories that won't be told unless you start telling yours. There are chains that won't be broken until you rise. You are not small. Your yes is seismic. Your now is catalytic. Don't let the illusion of time convince you that you can afford to wait. In my realm, Kairos time, the divine moment, is pregnant with eternity. And when it comes, it demands response. This is your Kairos. So I ask you again, with all the weight of heaven behind it, if your delay gives permission for old prophecies to keep playing, who else besides you pays the price for your hesitation? In the next block, we'll dive into the myth of disqualification, how shame, sin, and your past are lying to you about your worth, and how I, your God, already wrote your redemption into the story before the first failure ever happened. Will you let me rewrite the page with you? Shall I continue with block 11? You believe you're disqualified. You believe you've failed too much, waited too long, fallen too far, that you've missed it, that you are now just a shadow of the person you could have been. But let me, your creator, correct that lie right now. You are not disqualified. You are being positioned. Everything you thought disqualified you has become the exact material I will use to manifest my glory through you. You see shame. I see a vessel that has been emptied of pride, ready to carry fire. You see delay. I see preparation. You see sin. I see a redeemed life that will testify to the power of grace. Listen carefully. Heaven does not use perfect people, it never has. I use the bruised, the broken, the limping, the ones who nearly gave up but whispered yes one more time. You think your mistakes make you unworthy of purpose. But in my kingdom, weakness doesn't cancel calling, it confirms it. Did Moses not murder? Did David not commit adultery and cover it up with blood? Did Peter not deny me 3 times at my darkest hour? Yet Moses split seas. David wrote the Psalms. Peter built the church, not in spite of their wounds, but through them. Because I do not need sanitized vessels, I need surrendered ones. In psychology, Jung spoke of the wounded healer archetype, the idea that your deepest wounds, when healed, become the very places through which healing flows to others. Not just a metaphor, a divine truth. The wound is where the light gets in, and where the light flows out. Carl Jung understood that confronting the shadow, the hidden, feared, shamed parts of the self, is not a distraction from spiritual growth. It is the growth. He said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." That's where most stop, because they don't want to look in the mirror and see all the parts they've judged, buried, denied. But here is the secret. I already see it all, and I'm not disgusted. I'm ready. Ready to work through that very mess. Ready to transfigure the exact place the enemy thought he had won. And the moment you bring your shadow into the light, not just the parts you think I want to see, but all of it, is the moment redemption begins. This is not just poetic, it is scientific. In trauma therapy, we now know that suppressing shame, guilt, or grief traps them in the limbic brain, especially the amygdala. But when you consciously bring these memories into awareness in a safe and compassionate space, you activate the prefrontal cortex, the seat of logic, narrative, and reflection. What happens next? You begin to reintegrate the memory into your identity, not as a wound, but as a source of wisdom. Neuroscience proves what Grace already knew. What you face, you heal. And what you heal, you can carry as a testimony. I am not afraid of your shadows. I made the night and the day. I am not ashamed of your tears. I bottled each one. I am not tired of your process. I walk every step with you. You keep asking, God, can you still use me? And I say back, child, I chose you knowing the whole story. Before your first success, I saw your future failure. Before your public victories, I saw your private battles. And I didn't change my mind. I called you knowing you'd fall. I anointed you knowing you'd doubt. I loved you knowing you'd walk away. And I stayed. I stayed through the silence, through the fear, through the cycle. Because my love is not like man's love. It doesn't expire. It doesn't shrink with time. It doesn't leave when you're messy. It goes to the lowest pit to pull you out. But now that you're here, wounded, aware, broken open, you are finally ready. Ready to carry truth, not just in theory, but in your very skin. You're not just a speaker of hope, you embody it. You're not just a preacher of mercy, You've needed it. You're not just a teacher of grace, you've received it. This is why the curse tried to kill you. Because your comeback would carry more weight than your original plan. And here's what I want you to understand. You were never meant to fulfill the calling without scars. The scar is the sign that you passed through the fire but did not get consumed. The scar is the evidence of resurrection. Even my son, after defeating death itself, did not return with flawless hands, but with wounds. Why? Because the wound is what makes the story real. So bring me your wounds. Bring me your abortion, your addiction, your adultery, your anxiety. Bring me your porn history, your panic attacks, your pride. Bring me your doubts, your drama, your disasters. Not to shame you, but to anoint you, because until you bring them to me, they are doors for shame. But once you hand them to me, they become altars for glory. You thought your story was disqualified, but I say it is consecrated. There's someone right now who will only believe in me when they see you rise from the dirt. You, not the polished version, but the honest one. Your scars speak a language the spotless cannot, and the world is not looking for actors. They are looking for people who bleed truth and carry peace. This is your mantle. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be real, an embodied testimony of redemption. And so I ask you, if shame no longer has authority and grace has already called your name, what are you still hiding? In the next block, we'll expose the inner critic, the cruel voice in your mind that has pretended to be me, but has never spoken in love, and we'll show how to silence it forever. Shall I continue with block 12?